Hey, what's up? Welcome to Ohio Real Estate. It could be danger ahead for a housing crash in the United States. And I'm not talking about the crash like it was in 2008. And it's not a typical crash that most people think of in real estate. I'm talking about a reverse housing crash. This crash occurs when prices either go down slightly or they're stagnant, or heaven forbid, they increase and explode year over year. Now we know house prices and house values have exploded in the last 4 years, so we're already elevated. And if we don't see a plummeting of house prices, affordability is going to continue to be deteriorated. So today I'm giving you 3 signs you can look for in your local market to find out if a reverse housing crash is coming or maybe already here in your market. This is Ohio Real Estate. My name is Jason Ferrier. I'm a local real estate agent and investor. I'm a small town realtor, a small town investor, and I love bringing this data for you so you can make better buying decisions or selling decisions or maybe even real estate investing decisions. So that's what we're doing today. 3 danger signs. Here we go. Before we get started though, do me a favor, hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I do post regular updates and a couple videos a week. And please leave a comment below. I value what you have to say and your input, no matter who you are. If you have a thought, a question, comment below, please. All right, let's get started. Thank you for joining me. For today's video, I'm using data from several sources. The main source is Resiclub Analytics, a fantastic website, has free information on it and a paid service. The link's below in my description. I'm also using data from Realtor.com and Zillow.com. All right. Here we go. Danger sign number 1 is a deterioration of inventory and price explosion. So over the last 4 years, you've seen prices in the United States go up over 40%. At the same time, inventory levels compared to 2019 have deteriorated by 43%. And I'm about to show you that right now. So this chart that I put together that you're seeing on the screen, I got this information from Resiclub analytic data, and they got a lot of their raw data from Zillow and Realtor.com. But then I put this chart together to kind of hone in on some key markets to find out what happened and what shift occurred between 2019 and 2023 regarding prices and inventory. What you can see here is pretty astonishing. So nationally, prices are up 43% according to Zillow, and inventory is down 43% according to Realtor.com. So you've got a huge disparity, right? A lot less inventory and prices consequently have gone up. That's supply and demand, folks. All right, this is Ohio Real Estate, so I'm going to start with Columbus. Columbus, Ohio, 45% increase in pricing, 43% decrease in the amount of active listings. Miami, Florida, up 60% in prices, down 46% in inventory. See a pattern? San Jose, California, up 33% in prices since 2019, down 45% in inventory. Phoenix, 55% increase in prices, down 27% in inventory. So it continues. And then some of these are really outrageous, right? Look at Hartford, Connecticut, down 77% in inventory. Prices are up 48% in the last 4 years. Just astonishing, right? So that's what I'm talking about with this first danger sign. You look at it and think, hey, where is inventory? Where has it gone? Has it exponentially increased over the past 4 years, or has it decreased? Well, looks like it's decreased substantially. And even if there's a slight movement upward in inventory, you have to look at the price point of that inventory. And way too many people make the mistake of looking at data and going, hey, look, inventory's up according to Zillow. Hey, that means prices are going to come down, right? Maybe, but where's that inventory stacking up at? In what price point? And let me show you what I mean. So this chart I put together is actually derived from my local multiple listing service, the Columbus Board of Realtor data. So it's kind of behind the scenes data. And what I did was I broke it down by price point. So houses priced under $500,000, you can see we're down 10% in inventory year over year. This isn't the last 4 years. This is actually year over year. So in year over year, we're down 10% in inventory, and houses priced over 500 grand, we're up 37%. Well, the median in Columbus is like 300 grand. So let me ask you something. If you're somebody who's waiting to buy a house, if somebody who maybe a first-time home buyer or just looking for an affordable home, you're not probably looking well over the median in your metro. So for instance, in Columbus, since the median's 300 grand, about $300,000, looking at 500 or $700,000 houses, if I'm looking for an affordable house, that's not what I'm looking at. So that inventory is up, expensive inventory, but affordable inventory is still down, way down, and it's getting worse. So I ask you, if you're somebody who's looking for an affordable house, what does it matter if $700,000 houses are on sale? And so if you watch some videos on YouTube and you see people talking about, home builders and sellers having to slash prices from 5 million down to 4 million, what a sale. It's like, hey, if you're buying a $5 million house, that applies. If you're like me or like most people, what does that matter? What does it matter if $1 million or $2 million house is on sale if I'm not going to buy it? I mean, if you're not shopping in that price category, what does it matter? I don't want you to get trapped like a lot of other people do when it comes to looking at inventory data. Some folks will look at inventory or look at some price cuts in their area and think, yep, stuff's on sale. But if you get with a local real estate agent or realtor, have them pull data, ask them to divide it between price points and ask them to look at the inventory in different price points on what's available, new listings, and how many sold. You have to dial in what you're looking for and then look at the data behind that. If you look aggregately at just the whole market, even a subdivision, that's not going to work. You got to look at the price points, and any good realtor is going to be able to do that for you. So that's danger number one, that a reverse housing crash is coming. Prices are sticky or going up, and inventory is deteriorating. Danger sign number two is demand on the sideline. When I think about this conceptually, I think about, hey, it's a pressure cooker, right? And there's a bunch of different types of people who could possibly buy property going into this pressure cooker. And the more people that pile in there, and the pressure builds and builds, and then it's released. And this release I'm talking about is probably with interest rates, right? So a lot of folks went on the sideline, including investors, move-up buyers, and even first-time home buyers. When interest rates shot up past 8%, a lot of people bailed out and said, you know what, I'm gonna sit this out right now. Makes sense, right? Who wants a higher house payment and the house prices are more expensive? A lot of people thought, I'm gonna wait till prices plummet and I'm gonna go out and find the deal of my dreams. However, right now, interest rates are actually dropping. I mean, the last time I checked, and this before the weekend, interest rates were like 6.62%, down from 8% a few weeks ago and down from 7% just a week earlier. So rates are dropping. And the big question a lot of people want to know is what happens when rates continue to drop and sellers, people who are locked into their current mortgage and their house because they have a low rate, what's the point at which they decide, hey, I'm going to go out now and sell my house? And a lot of people think when these sellers decide to sell, there's going to be a flood of inventory because a bunch of people are going to decide to sell their house. But I work with these sellers all day long, and I can clearly tell you from my experience, people are not waiting to sell their house for low interest rates because they can't afford to sell their house with high interest rates. They can't afford to buy the next house. So guess what? The trigger isn't when to sell. The trigger is when can I afford my next house? Yeah, there are sellers and there are people that need to sell houses. That happens every single year. It's no different. Every single year, there are divorces and deaths and people that have to move because of jobs or whatever. And even people have bankruptcy and even foreclosures. It happens every single year. However, the majority of sellers right now have equity and they're wanting to use that equity to move up into the more expensive house. They haven't wanted to do that since interest rates have gone up past 8%. Now that they're dropping, the question is, will these sellers enter the market again? Now, do you think, and comment below, I'd love to know what you think. Do you think that as sellers enter the market, we're gonna have a flood of inventory? Or is it possible, and here's my question to you if you're watching this, where are the sellers gonna go? If you sell your house today, where are you gonna go? Are you gonna fly off into the universe? Are you gonna disappear like in the Matrix? No, you're gonna buy another house. So you become a buyer. Again, these sellers aren't waiting to sell their house because selling's unaffordable. They're waiting to sell their house because they want to buy the next one. And when it makes sense for them to move up into that next house, then they'll sell and buy that next house. And so you have a pressure cooker of demand on the sideline building. You have the move up buyer we just talked about. Then you have investors. You have investors, big institutional investors that own over 1,000 houses each. that these folks are also waiting, like you, for the right time to buy. If interest rates drop or if home prices plummet for some strange reason, they're going to run back into the market. They're waiting for this. And despite what a lot of folks on YouTube want you to hear and you see in the media, institutional investors are not, for the most part, going bankrupt. And let me show you this article. You'll see what I mean. This article is from Lance Lambert at Resiclub Analytics. Again, I really encourage you to check out their website for tons of free data. The title of this article is, "Instead of a substantial institutional sell-off, we're witnessing a deliberate culling of home portfolios." And then he goes on to say, among the 21 major institutional home buyers, only 3 are selling off at least 2% of their portfolio right now. So in other words, if there's 20, he identified 21 institutional buyers, those who own over 1,000 single family houses, and only 3 of them are selling at most 2% of their portfolio. So if I own 1,000 houses and I go out and put 2% on the market, that's 20 homes. And I don't think that's going to make a dent for you or me, right, in house prices. So this idea that institutional investors are going to have to dump all their portfolios because they're ruined, completely false. And they still want these houses. They still want single family houses. That demand hasn't changed. It's probably gone up because people like single family houses. If you're watching this, you probably want to live in a house, right? Some people want to live in an apartment. I like apartments kind of, but right now I live in a single family house. Almost everyone wants to live in a single family house, and investors know that. That's why they buy them. They're smart. They're not completely stupid. So while some of them are selling a tad bit of their portfolio, the majority aren't, and the majority are going to keep buying, and that's more pressure on the sidelines waiting to explode. And again, look out for that rate decrease. If interest rates continue to decrease, you're going to see that demand and that pressure cooker start to come out and start to flood the market. And here's something that is relative, at least to the Columbus area. Institutional investors have shifted their focus from areas like Phoenix, Dallas, Georgia. They're shifting their focus now to Ohio. In fact, Columbus is now the #1 spot for institutional buyers over the past 3 months. In the last 3 months, institutional buyers have acquired 615 houses in Columbus. And they're doing that because Columbus is still affordable. And what do you think is going to happen when rates come down? And the other reason why they're buying is because of the Intel facility. Everybody knows that here. Intel's announcing a plant, or they've announced a plant, and they are under construction right now. So to handle the influx of workers and demand, institutional investors have flooded into Columbus, and they're snatching up single family houses, and they're paying over asking. This is happening right now when a lot of other buyers are walking away and running for the exits. These guys are coming in and buying because they know demand will come back, interest rates are going to go down, and workers are going to flood into the area. So many other metros across the country are in this similar situation where buying demand may have been quelled for a little while, but when rates come down, sellers are going to come off the sideline, buyers are going to come off the sideline, and they're going to come in the market and compete with you and I to buy a house. Do me a favor, comment below. What do you think? Are you seeing more demand in your market? Are you seeing more sellers? Are you seeing institutional buyers? I'd love to know where you live and what's happening. All right, danger sign number 3 is the serious lack of foreclosures and distressed properties. Back in 2008, you had a lot of sellers that had to sell their property because they were underwater. They had negative equity. And because they had to sell, they were forced into foreclosure or a short sale. And they were basically what we would call in the business in distress, right? Distressed homeowners and distressed sellers. Because of that, prices plummeted because inventory spiked and skyrocketed. And obviously, because there's more inventory and more supply and demand was crushed, prices came down. That's how prices come down. And as prices have increased exponentially in the last 4 years, that 43% in increase in prices nationally, as that's happened, a lot of people on YouTube and in the media said, hey, we're going to see a lot of foreclosures because homeowners are going to go bankrupt and they can't afford their houses. But they missed the fact, or they ignored the fact, that a lot of the current owners are locked into 2, 3, 4, 5% interest rates, and they purchased 4 years ago or 3 years ago when house prices were somewhat normal and interest rates were low. So overall, are there a lot of people with negative equity? Let me show you. Okay, again, I'm using Resiclub Analytics. They actually got this data not from Zillow or Realtor.com. It looks like they got this from CoreLogic. So this map is fantastic. It shows you the percentage of homeowners who have negative equity in their house. And so for instance, let's do Ohio. Ohio, 2.1%. So if you line up 100 homes, about 2 of those have negative equity, 98% don't. Texas, 1.8. California, 0.6, less than 1%. Nevada, 0.7. Arizona, 0.8. There's some bad states in here, right? Some states with more. 6%. Louisiana was 6%. So that's obviously higher. Oklahoma, 4%. Iowa, 4.9%. So now we know a very, very small percentage of the current homeowners have negative equity in the United States. And in some areas, it's less than 1%, like in California. So that means the chances of foreclosure skyrocketing in those areas are a lot less than they were in 2008. Because if you have equity, you can sell your house and get a profit and pay your loan. So in other words, if I can't pay my loan on my house, and if I have, let's say, $50,000 in equity, right? And I go to sell my house and I sell it and I bank $50,000 after paying off the mortgage and what's behind in payments, why would I have a foreclosure? I wouldn't. Why would I do a short sale? I wouldn't. I would simply just sell my house. Now I have to go somewhere, like I said. So maybe I buy a cheaper house, maybe I rent an apartment. Either way, I'm either going to be a customer for a landlord or a customer for a seller. But you got to live somewhere. The other point to think about with negative equity is that foreclosures and mortgage modifications have seriously been impacted by government intervention. So back in 2008, banks were foreclosing on properties and selling them to the public, right? They were on the MLS. You could find them. I know a lot of people that picked up bank-owned properties or REO properties from banks. But now we're not seeing that as much because of government intervention. And that's one of the reasons, right? The United States government doesn't want a massive foreclosure problem. And the banks in general don't want to be home sellers. They want to be banks. So they want to keep people in their houses. So because of that, there's a lot of mortgage modifications. There's a lot of situations where if you can't pay your current mortgage, you can stay in your house for a long time while you're working out the payments with the bank. And again, right now, foreclosures are way different than they were in 2008. Right now, it takes about 700 days to go through the foreclosure process from the time it starts. That's on average. So if it takes 700 days, that means you have plenty of time to work out your debt with the bank or even sell your house if you have equity. So that's one of the other reasons we're not seeing a lot of foreclosures. And that's the danger sign. Number 3, my final danger sign is of a reverse crash, is that there's a lot less foreclosures and distressed properties. And that's a point you can look at in your local market. You can easily just go on Zillow and it will tell you, if you search, what homes are for sale, and you can see how many are in foreclosure or distress. You can actually filter for that. So go in there, look in your neighborhood. Do you see a lot of distress? Do you see a lot of foreclosures? If you see those spiking all of a sudden, that could be a sign prices may start to come down. But if you're not seeing that and you see inventory continue to be constrained in the price points you're looking at, no doubt that reverse crash could be real. And tell me what you're seeing. Go into Zillow. I encourage you. Go into Zillow, get with a local realtor, find out how many foreclosures are there in your particular metro, in your particular neighborhood, or even in the niche you're looking in, the price point. Have you seen a lot of foreclosures, a lot of short sales? I'd love to know. Comment below. All right, that was a lot of information. So what do you do with this? How can you apply it? As a buyer, seller, or investor, you have to know what niche you're looking in first and foremost. You got to know the price point you're looking in and hone in on that. And doing that allows you to ignore other things that may catch your attention and distract you. So if you want $300,000 houses, if that's your price point, go in and focus on $300,000 houses in the square footage you want, in the neighborhood you want. If you're a seller, same thing. If you're on the sideline waiting to sell your house, you got to know where you're going next. You're a buyer also, right? Probably. So go out. You got to identify where you're moving up to and what's happening with those assets. Remember, like we saw, expensive houses, inventory is up. So you may be able to find a deal on an expensive house. And if you're an investor, same thing. Know the niche that you play in. Personally, I like multifamily properties. As an investor, that's what I focus on. 2, 3, 4 units mainly. However, since the apartment buildings and commercial real estate is crashing right now, then I am looking there too, because there could be an opportunity for an apartment complex maybe. Now, I'm not a gazillionaire, so I'm not just gonna go out and run and buy the biggest apartment complex in the area, but I like smaller apartment complexes, so maybe I'll find a deal there. And in a couple videos from now, I'm gonna show you guys how I find opportunities, and it's not through the MLS, I can guarantee you that. So I hope this information helped you. I hope you get some value out of it today. And please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to my channel. This is Jason Ferrier in Ohio Real Estate. Have a good day. I'm out.